Hey everyone, it's Sevy. Dear little Huohuo is now playable and ready to do her ghost hunting job. Despite her knees perpetually shaking from fright, Huohuo packs a bunch of awesome support and survival utilities that can be beneficial to many teams. This guide will cover her kit and traces, Eidolons, Relic and Light Cone builds, team comps, and gameplay tips to help her overcome her fears. Let's begin. Huohuo is a 5-star Wind Abundance character that offers healing and cleansing abilities, but also restores her allies' energy and buffs their attack, which are qualities that you'd expect more from a Harmony character, making her feel like a 2-in-1 support. Let's review her kit and traces to see what she brings to the table. Huohuo's basic attack deals wind damage, which scales on her max HP, generating 1 skill point and 20 energy. Then, Huohuo's skill targets 3 allies and generates 30 energy for herself. The center main target receives healing that scales on her max HP, while also removing 1 debuff immediately. Meanwhile, the adjacent allies have a lower healed amount but won't get the debuff cleanse. After using her skill, she gains the Sacrifice Life status, which lasts for 2 turns that counts down at the beginning of Huohuo's turns. You can see its duration being tracked by her character HUD. If Sacrifice Life is active, then every time an ally starts their turn or uses their ultimate, they get healed a small amount based on Huohuo's max HP. At the same time, when that triggers, any allies who are at 50% or lower HP will also get healed. Additionally, the healing effect can also dispel 1 debuff on the target ally, which can trigger up to 6 times per duration of Sacrificed Life. Upon reusing her skill, that also resets the trigger counter. As you can see, Huohuo has both a manual healing cleansing ability with her skill casts and healing cleansing over time source with her Sacrificed Life triggers. A couple of things to note with her skill and talent mechanics though. If an ally falls below 50% during the enemy's turn, they will not instantly regenerate HP. So perhaps the biggest downside of Huohuo's healing and cleanse mechanics is that there's no emergency or panic button you can press to instantly heal your allies and remove debuffs, except for when someone uses their ultimate. Otherwise, you will have to wait for either Huohuo or that ally to take their turn first. It's not a deal breaker, just a different mechanic to keep in mind and work around. Huohuo's healing and cleansing are textbook qualities of an abundance unit, but for the more Harmony-like part of her kit, that's where her ultimate comes in. Huohuo's ultimate costs 140 energy, and casting it instantly restores a percentage of all other allies' energy while also giving an attack percent increase that lasts for 2 turns. Note that the receiver's energy regeneration stat will not affect the energy Huohuo regenerates. This is pretty similar to Tingyun's ultimate, which restores energy and buffs the damage of 1 target ally, and so Huohuo provides significant benefits for the same reason Tingyun does, leading to faster ultimate rotation cycles on top of boosting their damage output. Huohuo restores lower energy than Tingyun, but the fact that it targets multiple allies gives it a different situational advantage in many other scenarios. So whether those ults are meant for dealing damage or buffing allies or whatever, the faster energy gain can generally result in improving your damage output, making your team rotations feel faster and smoother, and just overall give a lot of comfort with team energy management. Contrast her to abundance units like Bailu or Natasha, who have more purely survival-focused kits. Huohuo offers a combination of healing abilities and offensive buffs, which is why she feels like an abundance and harmony hybrid support. For Huohuo's technique, activating it inflicts the horror struck effect on enemies, which causes them to flee for 10 seconds. Then, if you initiate combat while this is active, there's a 100% base chance to apply a 25% attack debuff on enemies for 2 turns, making them deal less damage to you at the start of battle. Then for Huohuo's Ascension abilities, her Ascension 2 ability lets Huohuo get Sacrifice Life for 1 turn at the start of battle, so she can already have passive healing and cleansing effects right away, which can be helpful if you start with less than full HP, or if an enemy somehow applies a debuff very early. Then her Ascension 4 ability gives a 35% increased CC debuff resistance to herself, which is useful since you really don't want your healer and cleanser being disabled. And her Ascension 6 ability makes her regenerate 1 energy whenever her Sacrificed Life talent effect triggers to heal allies. This is a very important passive to unlock, as the extra energy generation helps a lot to make her ultimate recharge faster. Huohuo gains a useful mix of HP, speed, and effect resistance stats from her minor trace bonuses, all of which are worth unlocking. Prioritize leveling Huohuo's ultimate since this contains her energy and attack buffs, followed by her skill and talent traces to improve her healing multipliers. The basic attack trace can just be left alone to save resources. For her energy and rotation, Huohuo's ultimate recharge time will typically take 4 turns after you've unlocked her A6 ability and given her enough ERR stats. An SP neutral rotation that alternates between her skill and basic attack will guarantee a 4-turn recharge time even without external energy sources, and that her Sacrifice Life state is always active and ready to heal and cleanse allies. Alternatively, she could also adopt an SP positive rotation of 1 skill and 3 basic attacks. The main downside of this is that it reduces her energy gain, so she will need higher ERR or more energy from external sources to achieve a 4-turn ult recharge time. It also means that her sacrificed life state will have a 1-turn downtime, which means that her debuff cleanse, passive healing, and A6 ability will be inactive during that time. Achieving a 3-turn ult recharge time will be rare, as that requires extremely high ERR and energy sources, or spamming her skill, which is very impractical. So generally speaking, expect the 4-turn recharge time to be your standard. So let me summarize my quick thoughts on Huohuo's kit as well as her pros and cons. As expected of a good survival character, Huohuo is very capable of being the solo sustain unit on the team thanks to her comfy healing output. However, she doesn't come with an emergency healing or cleanse option except for when her sacrifice life is active and an ally does their ultimate. Her debuff cleanse is a big pro, especially with how frequently it can be triggered. It's great for helping your allies deal with debuffs, taking dots, or even stat reductions. However, cleansing isn't the same as preventing it, and prevention has its own better cases, like when you're trying to avoid delay effects like imprisonment. There's also the matter of her buffing allies that turn her into a kind of abundance harmony hybrid. It's a very welcome combo, and I guess not that surprising considering how Fuxuan, a preservation unit, has some buffing and minor healing utilities too. One notable con though is that she's not as SP positive as other sustains can be. By default, she adopts an SP neutral rotation that allows her to guarantee a 4-turn ult rotation and have 100% uptime on her talent, or she can do an SP positive rotation, though that means some talent downtime and slower energy generation. Some sustains can have an almost pure basic attack rotation, which makes them very convenient for SP management. Huohuo also can't help much with breaking enemies since her only toughness reducing ability is her basic attack. It's a minor con since it's not her main role anyway, but still something to take note of. Overall, Huohuo's capabilities as an abundance unit are very satisfactory, and what's really meant to set her apart is her part-time harmony kit. So far, ally energy restoration has only been seen in Tingyun's kit, so it's great that we finally have another support that can do something in the same vein. If you already have 2 well-built sustains that can carry you throughout your Forgotten Hall and Memory of Chaos stages, then Huohuo will likely have low pull value for you. However, if you're still in the process of investing in a good sustain unit, and especially if you have no 5-star sustain yet, then I think Huohuo will be a good pull, so you can start letting her carry you throughout the harder content. Huohuo's Eidolons are unnecessary, and she provides great sustain and buffing utility even just at E0, but for those who really like her enough to get Eidolons, let's see what they provide. E1 extends her sacrificed life from her talent by 1 turn, which gives her more persistent healing. In some cases, it potentially helps her have some SP positive scenarios since it can be less urgent to recast her skill and some scenarios where sacrifice life is enough. Additionally, sacrifice life now grants all allies a 12% speed bonus while it's active, resulting in faster turn cycling for your team and helping hit speed breakpoints, and this can practically have permanent uptime, though be careful how it affects any speed tuning measures you've done and adjust accordingly. E2 gives her up to 2 revives per battle, which is triggered whenever an ally dies while sacrifice life is active. While it definitely makes battles more comfortable, it's generally overkill having 2 revives when you've sufficiently built your units already that your team's survivability is very good. E3 increases her ultimate and talent levels. E4 makes her heal stronger the less HP the target allies have, which is just more comfort. E5 increases her skill and basic attack levels, and E6 makes allies get a 50% damage increase for 2 turns after Huohuo heals them. And since it doesn't specify anything, either her skill or talent healing should be able to trigger this, so it can have very good or even permanent uptime. This results in higher overall team damage and fully realizes the harmony buffer side of her kit. Now let's move on to Huohuo's build, starting with her relic stats. For the body piece, you can go for outgoing healing or HP. Outgoing healing bonus results in better healing output, so it's generally better, but HP is still a fine option. For the feet piece, go for speed to help reach higher speed breakpoints and faster turn cycling, which also results in faster skill point and energy generation. Even if a slow build prolongs her sacrifice life duration, it ultimately has less benefits than a faster build. For the planar sphere, go for HP, and for the link rope, you want energy regeneration rate to enable a 4-turn ult rotation. However, if you're getting ERR from her light cone and or an ERR planar ornament, then there's a possibility for this to be HP, which is generally excessive for healing already. Then with substats, prioritize speed, HP, and effect resistance rolls. For Huohuo's relic sets, going for 2-piece combos of speed, HP, or outgoing healing will give you the most flexibility in choosing pieces with the best main and substats. But for a full set, I highly recommend the 4-piece messenger traversing hacker space, which gives your entire team a speed bonus for 1 turn after Huohuo uses her ultimate. And since it shares a cavern with the HP set, it's also very efficient to farm for Huohuo. Just be mindful if it might negatively affect any speed tuning measures you've implemented. The 4-piece passerby of Wandering Cloud is the alternative, as it gives a healing bonus and an extra skill point at the start of battle. The extra skill point might actually be helpful in some setups that are tight on skill points or be inconsequential. It depends on your team's skill point needs. points. Since it's paired with the attack set, the Relic Cavern is also pretty efficient to farm for many other DPSs. As for her planar ornaments, we have a couple of options. The Fleet of the Ageless gives her HP and a team-wide attack bonus at 120 speed, which are all useful bonuses. The Broken Keel increases the user's effect resistance and gives a team-wide crit damage bonus upon hitting 30% effect resistance. They're both very good support choices and share worlds with the Space Healing Station and Rutilant Arena respectively, which many DPS units like, so that's better farming efficiency. But we have two other sets that give ERR and additional effects. There's the new set, Penacony Land of the Dreams, which gives 5% ERR and a 10% damage bonus buff to other allies that share the same element as the user. This second effect has no stat requirement, which is quite nice. However, its usefulness in Huohuo is very limited as our only other win DPS options are Danheng, Blade, and Sampo. If you're using her to support Danheng and Blade, then this set is a viable alternative to Broken Keel or Fleet of the Ageless. As for Sampo, since he's likely in a dot team with Kafka and possibly other dot units, just using the Fleet of the Ageless, which gives an attack buff to the entire team, is generally better. Last is the Spratly Von Wack, which also gives 5% ERR and advances the user at the start of battle if they have 120 speed, which can get them a head start in skill point and energy generation. However, farming this set is quite inefficient since it shares a world with the Talia set, so I don't recommend this as much. It also anti-synergizes with her A2 passive. When combined with another ERR source, these sets can help you achieve target ERR breakpoints, which you can refer back to the energy and rotation section. Now for her light cones, which has great options from free to gacha choices. Hey Over Here is an upcoming free 4-star abundance light cone from this version's special event, so if you don't have a light cone ready for Huohuo yet, you can at least just obtain and build this one. The effect increases the user's HP and gives an outgoing healing bonus after using their skill, so it's only purely geared towards increasing Huohuo's healing. This is a good option if you just want to focus on healing, but other abundance light cones can offer other utilities. Quid Pro Quo is another free-to-play friendly light cone you can purchase in the Forgotten Hall shop. During the user's turn, a random ally except the user gets a bit of energy back if their energy is lower than 50%. With superimpositions, this can reach up to 16 energy, which is a pretty good amount, albeit having some RNG. If you want to lean into Huohuo's battery utility, then this helps in covering teammate energy needs. As for 4-star gacha options, Perfect Timing gives the user additional effect resistance and a universal outgoing healing bonus based on the user's effect resistance. This further helps prevent debuffs, makes good use of Huohuo's high amount of effect resistance bonus traces, and it also synergizes with the Broken Keel set. It's a great balance of debuff prevention and healing improvement. Post-up Conversation gives energy regeneration rate and an ultimate outgoing healing bonus. Unfortunately, the outgoing healing only affects the user's ultimate, which is completely useless on Huohuo. Even then, the ERR this gives can still be useful for her ultimate recharge, and at S5, this could replace an ERR rope for a consistent 4-turn ult rotation time. As for Shared Feeling, it gives a permanent outgoing healing bonus and generates a small amount of energy to the entire team when the user casts their skill. The team usefulness of its energy gain can depend a lot on its superimposition level and combat scenario, so its battery utility can range from being inconsequential or coming in clutch in some situations. At the very least, it's a decent option for boosting her healing. Moving on to 5 stars. Time Waits for No One is the standard 5-star light cone. It gives high 5-star base stats and HP bonus, and a universal outgoing healing bonus for a lot of healing power. It also provides an extra damage source based on an accumulated healing amount by the user per turn. However, do not use your Starlight currency to purchase this in the store, as it's not worth the upgrade considering the 3-star and 4-star options are already very good. And finally, we have our signature light cone, Night of Fright. It gives very high base stats, ERR, and an extra healing source. It also provides a stacking attack buff whenever the user heals an ally. It enhances her overall healing and buffing capabilities, and has good generalist value for an abundance light cone, making any abundance character an attack buffer as well. Personally, I don't think it's worth pulling for free-to-plays and low spenders when we have great alternatives, but that's going to be up to you. For team synergies, Huohuo can easily slot into so many team templates as your solo sustained support, since her healing, cleansing, and energy restoration abilities are all universally appreciated. Hypercarry teams are a given, and since some carries have very low SP consumption, like Jingliu or Blade, then Huohuo's SP neutral rotation isn't much of a problem. In dual carry teams or dot teams where you have Kafka and another dot DPS, then Huohuo's party-wide attack buff gets even more mileage. I would say that a major consideration is that since she isn't as naturally SP positive as other supports are, playing her in a team that's very SP hungry means that you'll want to ensure that other supports are also good SP generators. She can of course adopt an SP positive rotation, but the trade-off is that you'll have some downtime on her sacrificed life state, which also comes with risks, and it'll slow down her energy generation by a bit as well. It's still very possible from my experience, and with good SP management, your team will be more or less fine. dying. Combining her energy generation with Tingyun also makes for a pretty energy abundant team dynamic. Huohuo helps restore Tingyun's energy, which allows Tingyun to more easily spam her ultimate. Tingyun can transfer that to your main DPS, or if you're feeling a bit crazy, you can loop Tingyun's energy back to Huohuo for a party-wide energy restore. One unique template she can enable is a hypercarry mono wind team, which consists of either Danheng or Blade as your hypercarry, plus Bronya and Silverwolf. Bronya and Huohuo give massive buffs to your DPS, and Silverwolf can apply a wind weakness to the enemy if they don't have it yet, on top of debuffing them. The wind roster is fairly limited right now though, so this mono wind setup should get more variations in future releases. You may also want to properly position team members so that you can maximize the energy gain from getting hit by enemy AoE attacks and Huohuo splash healing targets. Huohuo by default can achieve her 4-turn ultimate rotation just from her talent and ERR alone, so she can just go into the 1st or 4th slot. Put the units you most likely want to get hit in the 2nd or 3rd slot instead. Taking advantage of this energy gain and combining it with Huohuo's energy restoration can potentially enable shorter ult rotations for some units. Lastly, let me offer some observations about her auto battle behavior. She uses her basic attacks if allies are at high health, and seems to only use her skill if allies have sustained enough damage. The targets don't even have to be at half HP or lower, but assuming there are skill points available, she seems to prioritize being able to heal multiple allies simultaneously even if they're at around 70 to 80% HP. This also means that in some cases, since she doesn't consistently try to keep the sacrificed life state uptime permanent, she won't guarantee a 4-turn ult rotation, but it's not a big deal. Huohuo is also programmed to use her ult as soon as it's ready, which is generally a good thing, though there can be some nuances where you might want to delay it just a little bit to sync it better with a unit's DPS window. I also noticed that if her and other allies' ultimates are ready, Huohuo will use hers last. This seems to be consistently the case, so at least her energy restoration isn't wasted. Unfortunately, Huohuo can also fall victim to the AI's team skill point mismanagement. There were cases where there were no skill points left for Huohuo to cast her skill and refresh sacrificed life, which lead to an ally dying a preventable death. Your mileage may vary though, since on some teams the AI isn't as wasteful with skill points. And that's it for this Huohuo guide. It's kind of funny to me that even if she's the one keeping your characters alive, she honestly makes you want to protect her instead. Regardless, she's a comfortable unit for survival with very useful buffs to boost her value, so players who are still looking to improve their roster of sustained characters have another great option to consider now. Let me know what you think of Huohuo down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all soon. Take care!